our listeners again. You are listening to the Good Sports Report podcast. Hope you're having a good time listening to our debut show. We want to now go into some fantasy picks here for those of you who love fantasy football, and more so me than my partner over here, but I'm going to get them into it. We're going to have some fantasy talk each week about whether it's sleepers or rankings, or as we get into the season matchups, who do you start, who do you hit. We're going to be all over that, and hopefully for fantasy players such as you, this will be good information for you during your week of preparation, especially in Dynasty Leagues, because that's the only leagues I play in. Those are the best leagues out there, and I recommend them to you if you do not play in them. They can do, a lot of work, but if you win it, you deserve it, especially in a paid league.
And
I know,
and ladies, there's nothing hotter than a chick that talks trash about fantasy football. Nothing hotter.
That reminds me, Bob, of that show called The League.
Yeah.
You watched that?
Yes. I've seen it. I have not.
That is a great show. That is a great show. And like I said, whoever I marry has to be in the sports.
Oh, yeah.
And one of my best friends, Shane Miller, I give him a shout out to him. He wants a woman that he hates. He wants him to sit down and watch a game with him, but if she talks about sports, it's a complete turn off for him. Don't understand it, but it is what it is.
Well, I think it's one of those things where a guy wants to be able, that if she knows sports and talks intelligently about sports, it's going to bother him, because if she, guys want to be able to have that control of, all right, I'm explaining this to you, not the other way around.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, it's stupid, but it's just the way some guys work.
But for me, I understand that, but also for me, I want to be able to share my love of sports with someone and be able to have great conversations about it. So it goes the other way as well, and I'm that way. And my friend Shane, he's the other way, and that's completely understandable. So
to each his own. All right. So with this fantasy fix, I've seen friendships end over a simple fantasy football game. So I haven't totally gotten into it, and I don't know what my I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I've participated, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But what is who is a can't miss, in this rookie class? I mean, you got the Andrew Luck, and you got Robert Griffin. Everybody's talking about them. Are they can't miss rookies, or is there another can't miss rookie we need to talk about?
Well, when it comes to Andrew Luck, I would hope you draft him if you're in a dynasty league for the future, maybe in a couple years from now, and hopefully that you have a quarterback like a Drew Brees or a Cam Newton or Matt Schaub or something like that you can put in there week one, and he's going to give you really good numbers. Not that Andrew Luck won't, but he's in a rebuilding situation right now where they're still trying to get some more talent around him, whether it's on the offensive line, whether it's from the outside. You got Reggie Wayne coming back, yes, but he's getting older, and then you got Austin Collie, but will he stay healthy? Pierre Garçon is gone, so they need to get some outside help. Now they got a couple rookies in there. We'll see how that works, but it's still a little bit of a tough situation for him, especially defensively, where they're kind of in a new rebuilding stage with Chuck Pagano as their head coach. So if you get Andrew Luck, I'd keep him on your practice squad or bench or something like that, and try not to play in week one, but he is a guy you do want for the future. RG3, I think, is a guy you can start right away. I think he's going to be really good. He's got some good outside weapons with Josh Morgan, Pierre Garçon, Fred Davis, Chris Cooley stays healthy. That's another weapon. They have a good running game. They have a good young defense. So I like what RG3 could bring to the table, similar to maybe what Cam Newton did last year. But in terms of non-quarterback, every dynasty league I've been in, I've done their rookie draft this year, and I've been in two of them. One I commissioned, and another one I co-commissioned. Trent Richardson was the number one overall pick.
Why is number one overall? Why is that?
In terms of the rookie draft, not overall.
Okay.
We're talking rookie draft here.
Okay.
And because he's a guy that's going to be a 3-down back. He's going to get a lot of touches. And that's already been posted out there by the coaching staff. Because they're going to want to, whoever they place in at quarterback, whether it's McCoy or Whedon, most likely Whedon, they're going to want to keep him in there. I guess you could say it's for a rookie. Even though Whedon's 28 years old, still running an NFL offense, they're going to want Richardson to be that 3-down back, especially with Peyton Hillis gone, and Montario Hardesty either injured or he potentially might not make the roster. So he's going to be the main guy in there. There's no doubt about that. So when you're talking running back, if you need a running back, if your league is high with running backs, it's very important with running backs, he's a guy that you need to take with your pick, either at 1.1 or somehow trade up to get him.
Why is how much do you, in these fantasy, what do you call it, like these dynasty leagues, how much do you, like, get rid, like, what's GMing a team like that when you're trying to decide whether to take a running back or not? Do you factor in how long, like, do you sign them to contracts or what?
Well, it all depends on what league you're in. There's obviously different settings, different salary cap measures, but usually there's a salary cap of a certain amount of money. In my leagues, in the one I commission, everybody has $120 per year. It's a 40-man roster. You can have 40 players under, but you can't have more than 40. So with those guys, you have to have $120 or less. You can't go over 120. You can be at or under. Then you can't buy out players. You can't just cut players either.
Oh.
You have to buy them out. You have to be careful of who you have on your team and what kind of contract that you sign them with, 1 to 5 years. And then it's interesting because then you have trades and then you have free agency and everything like that every year. And when you re-sign players, you can re-sign them for 1 year, but you have to pay an extra $8. You see, it's kind of like a franchise tag.
What?
When you sign them for like a 5-year deal, like Calvin Johnson is a guy who has 1 year left in one of my leagues on a contract I just traded for. So obviously I'm not going to be letting him go. I'm going to be signing him for 5 more years, for a 5-year extension after this season. It's going to cost me an extra $4. Okay. So you really have to think about with what players you want to keep and what players you want to cut when they're free agents. Because that's the kind of type of league it is. It's a lot of strategic, it takes a lot of thought process to be in these type of leagues. So that's why dynasty leagues are so important.
Who's somebody that you would not, who's somebody, a rookie that you would not touch right now?
Who I would not touch right now?
Yeah.
Are you, for this season alone?
Yeah, for this season alone.
When I talk dynasty leagues, usually you want to take guys that you might not even need, because sometimes most leagues have what they call practice squad, where you can just stash players that you draft onto your practice squad, and you can sign them for 5 years, and they stay there until you need them, and then you bring them up to your active roster. But a player for this year alone, if you're in a seasonal league, I would not take Ronnie Hillman. And the reason I say that, Ronnie Hillman, the rookie running back for the Denver Broncos, I believe he'll be really good down the line, but not this year. When you have Peyton Manning now, who obviously is going to somewhat control the offense, and then you have Louis McGahee, who's coming back after a resurgent 2011 season, and then you have a guy like Noshawn Marino, who, if he stays healthy, he's going to get some opportunities to carry the ball too. So at best, Ronnie Hillman is a number 3 back. So if you're talking rookie running backs that do not touch at all in 2012, you would be a guy.
Okay. Now, who's your rookie sleeper that nobody is talking about that everybody should be looking out for?
I'm going to give you a couple guys here, Bob. One guy is Darius Green, tight end of the Chargers. Now, he was a 4th-round pick. Some people might know him again who do dynasty leagues, that are familiar with the dynasty league process, may know about him, obviously. But with guys that just do season leagues and maybe keeper leagues, may not know much about this guy. He's with the Chargers. He was drafted. He's tall. He's very tall and athletic, and that's the kind of tight end you want now in the NFL with guys like Rob Gronkowski, Jimmy Grant, Michael Finley, even a Antonio Gates back in the day, and also Tony Gonzalez way back in the day, and he's still a serviceable tight end now. So these are the type of guys you want. And Antonio Gates had foot issues last year, and he's also not getting any younger. So Darius Green is that type of player when he gets acclimated into Phillip Rivers' offense and the Chargers' offense. And one of the reasons that Phillip Rivers threw so many interceptions as he did was Gates missed about the first half of the season, correct? About 6 to 7 games?
Yeah.
So when you take away that middle threat that he's used to and you don't have the greatest tight end to back him up, the defenses are going to look at the outside and say, here's Vincent Jackson. We're going to cover him, and we're also going to cover Malcolm Floyd on the outside, and we're going to take away the middle. And then we're also, because Antonio Gates isn't there, but we're also taking away the outside because we're putting more focus on the outside with Vincent Jackson and Malcolm Floyd. So if you have to have another tight end in there like Darius Green, you can easily make an impact this year for the San Diego Chargers. And another guy I'm going to talk about, Ryan Broyles is a guy, to me, who can have a great year, or at least think about having a good year. There's a lot of weapons that the Detroit Lions use. Obviously, with Matthew Stafford, you've got Calvin Johnson, Nate Burleson, and countless others, Brandon Pettigrew, and Titus Young, and so many others. But he's a guy that probably would have been a top first, second round pick had he not got hurt for Oklahoma last year.
Right.
And for his ACL. So he's a guy you got to consider too. Thinking about, I wouldn't draft him that high. I wouldn't draft him very high. But if you're in the late rounds, definitely got to look at him.
What and who are you like coming up on this next season? I mean, Adrian Peterson's coming off a bad knee injury, but he looks like he's coming back better than expected. But you don't want him coming back too soon. Chris Johnson's coming off a bad year. He just got a contract, so I wouldn't touch him. But who are some players that are who's your 3 up, 3 down segment? Who are going to be 3 players that are going to be have a better year than they did last year, and who are 3 that are going to have worse years than they did last year?
Well, 3 up. 3 up. Cam Newton, I think, is a guy that we obviously know had a great rookie season, but I think he's only going to get better, especially in fantasy purposes. He might be able to cut down on some of the turnovers this year. Obviously, he's a dual threat quarterback who also has a great accuracy for his arm, has a strong arm as well. So he's only going to get better. He already broke the record for passing yards and for rookie record for Peyton Manning passing yards, and he actually has a training camp this year as well. Don't underestimate that. He didn't really have a training camp last year in his rookie season, and look what he did. So think about him having an actual training camp and seeing how he does in a sophomore season in the NFL. Also, Ryan Matthews, to me, is a guy that is finally going to be able to carry the load for the Chargers, especially how they maybe won't be able to want to run the ball a little more. He has a lot of expectation. And yes, sometimes that does fall. Sometimes when you have a lot of expectations, it could turn out to be a bad thing. But when it comes to, if Ryan Matthews has a great year and you don't think he's going to be able to live up to that again, trade him. Right. Trade him and get some value for him. Take advantage of it. So he's a guy that you could be able to use the benefit from early and maybe able to get some great value for him. So it could work out either way. And also Julio Jones of the Falcons. We've heard that Roddy White may be able to get a slight decline in production. Julio Jones can be the best beneficiary of that. Plus, you got the running game, so I think Julio Jones is going to be a big factor in his sophomore season. He already showed that he could be a stud in his first season. He dropped a few passes that he might be able to catch this year, knowing routes better, knowing defensive backs better, and situation at hand better. So I really like Julio Jones in his sophomore season.
And we're in in fantasy. I mean, obviously, we're going to be able to talk. We're going to be talking a lot of Dynasty League, but we'll also help you out with I mean, we're talking PPR leagues, right? When you're discussing,
right? Absolutely.
Okay. And
absolutely.
We'll also discuss when you have keeper leagues, whatever you need. We'll get you covered.
Whatever you need.
Yeah,
right, absolutely.
We're like Montel Williams. We're just an advice show. We're not gonna you'll tell the people what they should do. They don't have to do it if they don't like it, but it's just advice. Am I right on that?
Still better than compared to Monson Williams. So, we'll move on here.
Okay.
And 3 down guys, I just want to mention really quickly. Obviously, if you have a quarterback, you have Peyton Manning on your roster, you want to stick with him. He's your number 1 guy. But don't keep him for like 3 to 4 to 5 more years. He might not even play another 2 years depending on his health. So he's a guy you want right now, but he's definitely a guy declining on the list, definitely in terms of age. We don't know how the next thing is going to happen. So he's definitely on the downward spot, as most people know. Michael Turner, though, he's 30 years old. He's a guy that, if you have him, I'd only have him for at the most 2 more years because a guy named Jacquizz Rodgers, everybody might know him from Oregon State.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that's been backing up. He was kind of that little scat back, I guess you could say, last year. Jason Snelling also being there. And now he's going to be the primary backup of Michael Turner. And you can see about maybe 8 to 10 carries a game, kind of spelling Michael Turner at some points in case he needs a rest or a breather. So he's a guy that could be the future back of the Atlanta Falcons. So, yes, pay attention if you have Michael Turner starting, but also look at Jacquizz Rodgers as maybe a handcuff for the future number 1 for the Atlanta Falcons. And obviously, we touched on Antonio Gates as well as he's near the end of his career in terms of being at his peak, and also he's had some foot issues.
Yeah, he's definitely had his fair share of foot issues. Let's kind of switch into our next topic. But before that, we like to tell you you're listening to the Good Time Sports Podcast, and make sure you follow our show on Twitter at Good Time Sports Pod. It's good time, and then sports is spelled SPRTS, and then PD. No O. Not because I don't know how to spell, but because Twitter restricts your characters. I mean, that's unheard of, right? And also you can...
It's unheard of, alright.
It's also... You can also follow me and Andrew on Twitter at Bob Sullivan Show is my Twitter, and I host my own talk show that airs on YouTube daily, and also you can follow Andrew at Andrew_VIG, and where he debates all topics and tells sports truth. And you can follow our Facebook page by searching Good Time Sports Pod on Facebook and like our page. And if you don't like you. So.
And also goes crazy when the Thunder get to the NBA Finals, as I did last night, as you just on Twitter knew that last night as I was going nuts when the Oklahoma City Thunder clinched their berth into the NBA Finals. That was pretty exciting last night. I already ordered the hat that they were wearing, the hats that they were wearing last night at the podium, the black ones, looking really nice, and it looked really nice on me in a couple weeks when they deliver it. So,
have you ever
excited about that.
Have you ever done the Buy the Sports Illustrated package where it's like you get a commemorative book and all that stuff? Have you ever done that?
Well, not with my money.
Oh, okay.
If somebody wanted to get that for me, I would be very grateful.
Okay.
But not yet with my money. So I'm still tight on money. So I'd like to see what happens down the road. Maybe that's possible. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm still tight on money. Just graduating from college. So everybody knows how that is for the most part, graduating from college. So but let's move on. Let's touch on the Stanley Cup real quick. Obviously, the Kings had a chance to close it out last night and finish off the sweep of the New Jersey Devils, but just like Devils, they're gonna just be a thorn in your side, and they finally were in Game 4, and they won 3-1. They finally got to Jonathan Quick last night, and they got 2 goals on him, and the third was an empty netter. And it just, I think the Kings have the Devils right where they want them. They're going back, I believe, to New Jersey for Game 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
They might actually be home for Game 5. They may have the 2-3-2 format in the finals. But even if then, they go back on the road, they have them right where they want them because they're 9-0 in the postseason on the road, which is astounding for an 8 seed. It just keeps going back to being them being an 8 seed. When you look at them, they play like a 1 seed, but they're truly an 8.
No, I like I like the Stanley Cup final format of not just how they do 2-2, 1-1-1, so that they have to travel from New Jersey to LA, and basically, I wish it was 2-3-2, so that there would be it would be a lock that the King. I just hope the Kings can win in LA, so that there's some people burning couches and tipping over cars and over hockey. That is, I don't. That's something that needs to be done. I don't care, like the Canucks thing. That happens too much, where like soccer fans start tipping over cars and stuff like that. But in LA over hockey, that would just be so awesome.
Well, here's the thing with the Kings is that they've got a great team. They got a great goalie. They have some great skaters in this Kopitar. They have Dustin Brown. They have Jeff Carter. They got some good young players, but then they also got some veterans on that team. That's a good mix. And actually, it is Game 5 in New Jersey, so the Kings have them right where they want them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, they're undefeated on the road. So let's see, maybe if the Kings can close it out in Game 5, that will be on Saturday at coverage starting at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Yeah. So let's move on now. Bob, there's been some interesting debate here with Drew Brees and his contract status. Mm-hmm. And let's touch on this really, really quickly. There's another topic I actually want to discuss when it comes to the referees. Let's touch on this really quick. Drew Brees hasn't gotten a contract extension. He's gotten the franchise tag on the table for about $60 million. Would you offer him a blank check?
I would, because no one else. I mean, that franchise is a mess. It was a mess before he got there, and it'll be a mess if they don't have him when they don't have with all these suspensions. I mean, he's the leader. He's the heart of that team. He's the heart of that city right now. Give the guy a blank check. Say, write whatever number you write down on this check, we'll give it to you. No questions asked. That's what needs to happen. And if it doesn't, I just don't know why they wouldn't do that. What? Go ahead.
I agree that it should have been signed by now. But when it comes to it, I think Drew Brees wants in the area of $21 million, and I think they're in the area of about 15, 16, 17 million. So maybe a compromise is in the future of about a $19 million settlement. Or, when I mean $19 million, they settle on $19 million and they sign. And he'll be there for another 5 years with $19 million a season, roughly. Right. So 19 times 5, do the math. I wasn't a math major, so I don't want to do that right now. So, it's an interesting thing. I think he should have been signed right now. I think they should. I think they get the deal done. Speaking of another deal that needs to get done, Bob, how about the NFL and the officials union? It looks like the talks broke off a couple days ago, and it looks like that the NFL is going to be looking to replace the referees and get replacement referees for the upcoming season unless they get a deal done before the season starts. Now, I think I've been looking to try to get some. I've done a little debating about this with a couple other friends, with another friend. So what is your thoughts about that?
My thoughts are, I hope people are happy that they've bitched and complained about refereeing, how bad refereeing is in the NFL for years now. And I hope they enjoy watching as it gets even worse when they have they're going to have there's going to be more confusion on rules that maybe they didn't know, or it's going to be a disaster if they don't get this signed. And frankly, I don't really I don't care about this refereeing thing because I just find it. I mean, they're going to get more crap for being selfish than the players or the owners. So it's going to be a disaster, and I don't even think it. I mean, it is what it is. It's just the nature of the business. So, what do you think?
I think the refs have all the advantage right now. I think the refs have all the leverage because they're going to look and they're going to see that these other referees, whether it's from the Arena League, whether it's from non-BCS conferences, which is most likely that it's going to be, or maybe they even pull refs that aren't currently working in the CFL or older referees from those leagues out to be referees in the NFL as replacement referees. Not that they can't referee, not that they can't officiate, but they're not up to the NFL level. And obviously, the NFL is the highest standard of football in the world in terms of actual football, not soccer. With all due respect to soccer,
No.
football is an American league game, and it's an American game, and obviously other people like it. But when it comes to the NFL with football, it's the highest standard. So when you bring in guys that aren't refereeing in the National Football League, that are refereeing whether it's college or levels below the NFL, there's going to be some issues.
Mm-hmm.
And the NFL officiating union is going to be like, well, I guess you really do need us. And the NFL is going to have a lot of issues with fans crying out, even more, like you said, with calls. There's going to be a bad call in one of these games. If we go into the regular season, that's going to cost the team a game, and it's going to be an issue. Probably not as much so as the NFL lockout with the players, because then there wouldn't be football, but it would be a big issue. And I think it would get more coverage than like any safety issues right now to even get. Because now you're talking about deciding games. And obviously, every single game is important in the NFL. So there's going to be a lot of complaints, and I think the NFL is going to realize that, yeah, we need these refs because these refs are the best in the world when it comes to being in the NFL. Some have done it for over 20 to 30 years. We need to get a deal done. The refs, in my opinion, have all the leverage.
Well, and I'm not going to be able to live with myself if I can't see Ed Hockley on a weekly basis. I just don't think I can live without that.
Oh, goodness. I feel like that's a little bit of sarcasm. I wonder if they'll be in the Madden game as well, because usually Ed Hockley is in the Madden game. I wonder if there'll be license in there if they have a lockout. That's interesting.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Referees are more important than people think, and I think a lot of people are going to realize that, and I think the NFL is going to realize that too when it comes to this situation. I hope it doesn't come to that, but it wouldn't shock me at all if it came to that. So that's an interesting situation. We've talked about Peyton Manning with the Broncos before. Obviously, living up to the Tim Tebow standards, I don't think there's any living up to do. To be honest with you, Peyton Manning is a legend, a future Hall of Famer. We all know that. Tim Tebow got the Broncos to 8-8.
Yeah.
And won a playoff game with the division. I think it's more than fair to say Peyton Manning leads this team, hopefully to a 10-6 mark and a couple playoff wins, potentially into a conference final game.
I think that's possible. I definitely like the idea of not having to hear about Tim Tebow in Denver.
Hear about Tim Tebow.
I'm not saying we're not going to hear about him, but I just don't like hearing about him in Denver because it's not a market that. It was just obscene how much coverage that city got for being really, I don't know. I just got sick and tired of hearing about Denver. And now we're going to have to get it again because Peyton Manning's there. But it's not going to be to the extent. It's going to be more warranted whether they're playing poorly or playing well, not because we don't know whether there's divine intervention in the game or not. Because God decides the outcome of a game more so than a player. So it's just, I'm I'm gonna say it's gonna be a breath of fresh air to hear about the Broncos and not have to hear about Tim Tebow.
I completely agree. I was just going to say I'd rather hear the Broncos about Peyton Manning or talk about on radio, the coverage of the Broncos. I'd rather talk about it with Peyton Manning, obviously, than Tim Tebow. So I've always been a fan of Peyton Manning. I was never a Colts fan, not a Broncos fan either, but I've always had respect for Peyton Manning. For those of you who don't know, I am a Steelers fan. So, those of you who do know me well obviously know that, as I've been a Steelers fan practically all my life. So
now I'm not going to lump you into this, but I hate the Steelers, and it's not because of you. It's because of when I went to college for a year, and I went to Mount Mardia College in Yankton, South Dakota. My roommate the first semester was a Steelers fan, but every conversation came back to the Steelers. It was like he would be like, Michael Vick's not that good a quarterback. Well, he did win a playoff game in Lambeau Field, and he's like, yeah, well, what's his name? Ben Roethlisberger did this, this, and this. And it's like, okay, well, that's great. But, I mean, Michael Vick's still a good quarterback. And then he'd be like, no, he's not a good fantasy quarterback, though. But at that point, neither was Ben Roethlisberger, and he's never been that great of a fantasy football or fantasy quarterback. And it doesn't make sense to me why Vick is so much better than Roethlisberger when Roethlisberger at that point was still an unknown. You know what I mean? And everything came back to. I just got sick of listening to his ramblings about how great the Steelers were and how there's no other franchise like them. I hope to God.
No, I do have to agree there. The only team that's won 6 Super Bowls. Come on. Yeah, it's not that I'm bragging about it. It's just anytime a Ravens fan wants to get into a debate with me and says, okay, how many do we have? 6. I mean, you call me when you get to at least 3, okay? So it's like, call me when you beat us in the playoffs, number 1. And call me when your kicker actually decides to make a clutch field goal and send your team to the Super Bowl. Because it ain't happening anytime soon. And it's funny because Joe Flacco, obviously the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, and I actually cover his brother, Mike Flacco, who plays for the Frederick Keys in the Baltimore Orioles organization. And I'll tell you what, you go up standing right beside him, he's tall, he probably could be almost as tall as Joe, maybe not as tall as Joe, but he's a tall dude. But he has the same clutch gene as Joe. Anytime there's a runner on first and second with 1 out, and you're expecting a big-time hit in a big needed situation, rounds into a double play. Yeah. Just like Joe Flacco throwing an interception against Troy Polamalu in the AFC Championship game a few years ago. Now, I will say this, Joe Flacco played a relatively good game against the Patriots last year in the AFC Championship game. But over the years, it's been a choke job with him in terms of, throwing an interception or costing a fumble or making a bad play that cost his team the game down the stretch. So, it runs in the family. There's
a lot of things that what's his name, Joe Flacco doesn't do well, but he does grow a hell of a mustache. I will give him that. And that's something I can't do. I mean, I try to grow a mustache and I look like I don't know, like got out of the 7th grade. That's all I can do. So
congratulations to him. Maybe if he won the MVP with that, maybe he could. But I'll tell you what, Ben Roethlisberger did one pretty well when they won the first Super Bowl. And I'll tell you what, whoever can learn something from Brett Kiesel as well.
Oh.
He's just one of the best at it. The beard. James Harden.
Yeah.
That's another, obviously, with the beard. We could have a whole segment talking about beards, but obviously, that show is not today, maybe sometime down the line.
Oh, yeah.
Something happens. Maybe during the NBA Finals and James Harden had a great game. We'll talk about the best beards in sports.
Oh.
And that could easily happen in about a week. So we'll see what happens in next week's show. But we're going to go to our final segment of the show, Bob, and that's called True or False. Yes. We're going to give 3 statements out, and each of us are going to decide whether that statement, now, it could be something that could happen within, tonight, or it could be somewhere, a couple months from now in our prediction. Either we think it'll happen by saying true, or obviously false. We don't think it'll happen. So, Bob, you're up first.
I'm going to...
Celtics close it out in game 6.
True. And it's going to be it's going to be a 10-point game. I'm going to go Celtics by, what did I say, 6? I'm going to say 108 to 102. They get a little lazy on defense. And by the way, we need to mention that you predicted 34 from Durant yesterday, and also you predicted an 8-point win, which both happened.
I appreciate that. It was almost the exact same score. It was 105 to 97 I predicted yesterday, and it was 107 to 99. So, yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate the love there. That was good. That was in our recording yesterday.
It is. That
was awesome. I'm just glad we got the win, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
But, it is what it is. It's nice to have it out there. Durant had a big game, and obviously we talked about that before. I believe it's, I want to say that the Heat, I want to give at least the Heat some credit. Maybe things will go up there and get a game 6 win and send it back to Miami for 7. But you know what? This Boston team just has so much heart, more so than the Heat do. And it's at home. They're going to want to end it. They didn't even shoot that well for the most part in game 5 for most of the game. And they still won. They're in their home court. Ray Allen's going to make a few threes, big-time threes. I'm going to say it's true. Okay. And I'm going to give a score, not to the extent you did. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be a defensive game. I'm going to go with 95 to 89. Ooh. Boston wins.
Okay. Well, all right. Next, true or false? This one will be. You actually wrote this one. It's Steve Nash will sign with the Bulls in the off season. True or false?
Yeah, that's a good one, considering that Derrick Rose might sit out the entire season next year with his ACL there. He tore his Achilles ACL. You know what? I'm going to say that's true. Why not? Not going to go back to Phoenix, and I highly doubt he's going to go to Orlando if Dwight Howard is not there. So I think Chicago has an opening at point guard, a true opening at point guard. And they have, obviously, Joakim Noah, Carlos Boozer, if they would like to keep them, obviously, which I'm sure they will. Luau Dang, they have great depth on their bench, and I actually, in their lineup and in their bench, I actually picked them to go to the finals to represent the East at the beginning of the season, but obviously, I have to give myself a pass on that one because of Derrick Rose going down. So, it is what that is. I think there's enough depth. Steve Nash will be a great facilitator. He'll be a great three-point shooter. We all know Steve Nash's game. He's going to come in there, I think, if he does go in there, and be a great leader on that team. So I think it's true. I think it'll be a great time.
I'm gonna go false. Just because I just don't. I don't know. I mean, I think he's. I think he actually. I think he ends up with. I think the Lakers are going to make a run at him. I don't think they have the money right now. They're going to have to clear up some cap space, but I think they'll make a run at him because they are. Oh yeah, they need a point guard bad, and I think he would be the best fit.
I can't disagree with you there. It's not like you're wrong. But like I think I thought about the Lakers and I was like, the money is paying. Like you just said it.
Yeah.
That's why it's not like I think he deserves more than the veteran minimum. That's what I think, though.
Yeah.
I think he could get a decent contract. Obviously, to me, he deserves more than the veteran minimum. He'll get what he can get for being 38, 39 years old, but he's still one of the quality point guards in the game. He's still a guy you want on their team. He's a guy I'd pay a little bit more to get if I really need a point guard. And I think Chicago needs to be in that situation. Obviously, they have DJ Watson and Lucas III. But obviously, if you can get a guy like Steve Nash to put on their team, it's an opportunity that I think the Bulls need to at least sign him for a year. Let Derrick Rose sit out the year, come back healthy. If anything, he can be a late season addition. But I think if Steve Nash is a guy the Bulls should at least consider, and I think it could happen.
The next one is, do you think Pat Riley will be the head coach for the Heat next year if they fail to win the finals?
You obviously touched on it a little bit earlier in the show.
Yeah.
But if they lose tonight, or in Game 7, or in the NBA Finals, I think it's a possibility. Here's the thing. Pat Riley, he's the GM. He's the president. In fact, I don't know if he's the complete, I don't think he's the owner of the team. He's the man of that organization up top. We all know that. He's the guy that makes the decision.
Mm-hmm.
And he went down to coach that team down in 06 to a championship. Obviously, Stan Van Gundy got the kind of wrath about that, and then he went to Orlando, and we don't know what happened there. But he's a guy that can coach. He feels like he's comfortable in Miami. He's given the team a couple years, where to, come together and do what they want to do. He said, this is what you're going to do. You guys are going to be in control, whatever. We signed you guys. Go out and play. And now, I don't think he's going to play anymore. If they keep the big three, and Spoelstra's out, and when they lose, and Spoelstra's out, who else are you going to hire?
Well, that's true, but I don't even, it doesn't matter who they hire if they have the supporting cast they have right now with the big three, because that supporting cast is absolute garbage. I've never seen, if they won the title this year, that would be the worst bench in NBA history to win the NBA Finals. That is the worst supporting cast I've ever seen. And I don't know how, I don't know if that, it probably says more about LeBron. It doesn't say anything about, it says more about LeBron. I mean, he's basically playing with the team he played with in Cleveland.
Except for the two other players.
Yeah, but they're playing about on the same level as the players he was playing with in, they played the same amount of defense, but ultimately he's carrying the load.
Right, and Dwayne Wade has been inconsistent, as we said before. But here's the thing, here's the difference between Spoelstra and Pat Riley, and it has been said, and it has been reported, that Spoelstra's practices aren't as tough, aren't as fierce as what Pat Riley. And yes, you use Pat Riley's practices, and they're hard. They're hard practices.
Yeah.
And it could it could make the legs kind of tired near the end of the season. But I'll tell you what, you'll be playing hard every single day, and you'll be prepared for these type of games near the end of the season. In an elimination game, why do you think he's won so many titles? There's a reason why he's won so many titles as a coach. And I think if he comes down there, he'll put more discipline on this team. And I think that could be a huge difference. So if they don't break up the big three, this is a possibility of what could happen. And it would be interesting to see what could happen.
But with the teams he's won with and the teams that he's been successful with, they've all been that kind of grinded out, I'm not going to take any shit from anybody type of people who, that doesn't, I mean, this new generation of players, I don't know how well that clicks with like LeBron and D Wade and Bosh. I mean, D Wade had his problems with Pat Riley, and even Shaq had problems with Pat Riley. But I mean, I just don't. I think it's a possibility, but I don't think it's the right fit for that. I mean, it would be the right fit if they all bought in, but the question is who's going to buy in and who's going to be sold essentially to another team because they don't know how to fit in or refuse to fit in.
When you look at I always go back to the Thunder, is that you don't think that Scott Brooks' practices aren't easy? It's just another thing is that they buy in though too.
Yeah.
But also, he isn't light with the practices. I think Spoelstra focuses more on the games than what he does on the practices. And this year I understand because it has been a truncated season and everything's been shortened. But when it all comes down to it, you still need the practice time to have the chemistry with your team and everything like that, especially when you alluded to, and obviously I did so before the season, the supporting cast being what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So practices are important, especially when you have that type of team. I would argue they're even more important for the supporting cast to be more consistent. And when you don't have that practice time, supporting cast is not that consistent. You can't get them into the game, into the flow of the game as much as you'd like them to. So I think Pat Riley is down there on the bench next year for this team. I could see them winning the finals because of that, because it would get the supporting cast into the flow of the action more. Because when you don't practice, it's hard to get into the flow of the game as well, if you're one of those types of players.
Yeah.
Final thought?
I completely agree with that, and yeah, he knows how to he knows how to Spoelstra, I will give him credit. He knows how to draw up an offense and watch game film, but he doesn't know how to make in-game adjustments. He doesn't know how to. He hasn't had the psychological warfare that Pat Riley had, or the he doesn't know how to play mind games like Riley and Phil Jackson and all the great coaches know how to do, and that's what is holding this team back is he doesn't know how to. He's a X's and O's guy, but he's not a Allen or a LeBron and D Wade guys. You know, he just doesn't know how to handle.
I completely get what you're talking about, and unfortunately, that is all the time we have on our debut podcast of the Good Time Sports Report. We are scheduled to return next Wednesday, I believe. Next show.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Wednesday, June 13th. Will be at noon sharp, top of the afternoon hour. We would like to, again, let you know that you can follow us on Twitter, the show on Twitter at Good Time Sports TV. And also, follow Bob on Twitter at Bob Sullivan Show, where he tweets a lot every day, and also, again, hosts his radio show. And, again, for our listeners, provide the time and days for that.
Yeah. Show is, there's no set time for my show. It airs when it airs. I'll let you know. I'll tweet it out whenever it's up. So, just be on your toes.
You get Bob Sullivan Show, follow him on Twitter, and you can get the latest updates on when his show airs. My show, Interactive Sports Talk, will re-debut, I guess you could say, if that's a word I'm just using right now. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, starting next week. It'll be at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. You can listen live, as I will tweet the link out on Twitter and also Facebook. And also, if you want to just, send me your friend request on Facebook, just put in my name, Andrew Vigliotti, and I'll most likely accept you. You can just look at it through there as well. Also, all of my updates on Facebook go to Twitter automatically.
Ooh.
So that's another way to keep up with me as well. So again, our next show will be Wednesday, June 13th at 12 Eastern Time. So look out for our shows, individual shows in between, and we will see you then. For Bob Sullivan, I'm Andrew Vigliotti signing off. Hope you enjoyed and had a good time listening to our sports report.
Thanks, folks.
please follow the rest of this 2-part podcast on part 2 of our debut podcast. Find it on Podbean or at Sports Rants with the Z / Bob Sullivan Show.